On top of this, you have also contributed a very robust political economy critique of very mainstream concepts in development studies. I'm thinking here about corporate social responsibility, about your critique of the livelihoods approach, about things that you've written on local governance, on decentralization. But as critical political economists, we're constantly told that we're much better at unpacking and criticizing these policy packages or concepts and ideas, ways forward that can provide alternative political narratives for transformative politics. How do you stand in that tension between criticizing, unpacking, and...
Well, I would, number one, say that my critique of such concepts has not been all that powerful. I have one thing to do, and I do that thing over and over, and I have no doubts that it is useful to do. If you will notice, all of my critiques have to do with the insertion of the concept of class, a relational definition of class, in discourses that have left it aside. And I think that given the dominance of neoclassical economics in the world, and also, not necessarily all sociological theory, but a great deal of it, that, all of this identity politics and everything, I think that yes, you have to pay attention to people's experience and how they conceive of themselves. But that does not give it a truth which lies outside the capacity of an analyst to look at the world that they're thinking about and to say, look, this experience is mediated by class, by race, by gender, I don't know what. Anyway, so I really do think that's all I do. It's not very complicated. Working it out has been, it takes time, evidence, or whatever. I want to give people tools for doing that. And I'll make a defense of that. I think it's quite useful, given the world in which we live, to do that. But as you point out, that's a minor task. What's the real task? It's to make sure that you are not taken by their questions and cease to have any of your own. So the problem of radical political economy now is, which has been true for a while, is when you get through with the critique, that critique has to be not just a critique of the concepts, but of the questions that are implicit in the use of those concepts. And it's not just a critique of the assumptions, but of what appears anomalous from one point of view and will not if we recast it. And that is our responsibility. And I think that is, very important to do. For example, currently, all of this discussion about the population question, about changes in the nature of accumulation, all of that, well, are those the right questions? They have a lot of assumptions behind them. Are they correct? I think we need to work much more hard about both interrogating the data, because that's one way of rethinking the questions, but also in figuring out what the issues really are. And for me, the big thing that's been lost is I think we have a responsibility to understand the nature of transitions, and that the dismissal of, say, Mozambique or whatever as the things, even looking at the Angolan experience, the Tanzanian experience, the Mozambican experience, and thinking, well, take these seriously. These were moments in which nationalist struggles had an impact from people working within a socialist or Marxist, at least affected program, and they were, they were transitions. And if socialism is actually, as it was understood to be in the critiques of the Soviet Union, etc., as a period not of revolutionary changing of everything in one moment, but as a period of continuing class struggle, then these experiences should be analyzed as that. And I think it's really very important for us to look at all of those, not just the transition from feudalism to capitalism, or even the relatively poor at this point, but it's important, literature about the transition from state socialist capitalist regimes of whatever kind, or more and to what they are now. They are developing capitalist economies, and often very powerful ones. So I think the work on that is important to do, and it's up to us to take it on. Yeah, and I thought Henry's discussion in that last JPS, the Marxism issue, going back to look at the Soviet Union, was really useful. Yeah, as a way of taking that on, and all of us could, in your particular area, look at for Latin America. How many revolutionary moments have there been? Yeah, and what happened in those revolutionary moments? I'm not saying that everything has to be only historical, but I think it's very difficult to pursue an agenda of transformation and change if you don't have some idea about, well, what has happened in earlier attempts to alter things, to change history, based on some kind of socialist program.